Now please join me in welcoming Dean Roland Mitchell.
Thank you, Renee, and good evening, everyone. Good evening. As Dean of the LSU College of Human Sciences and Education, I'm privileged to lead a nationally accredited division comprised in the School of Education, the School of Kinesiology, the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development, the School of Library Information Sciences, and the School of Social Work, as well as the Early Childhood Education Laboratory School and our University Laboratory School. Our college is committed to achieving the highest standards in teaching, research, and service, and is committed to improving quality of life across the lifespan, which is why we're partnering to host this important event today. So welcome. Welcome to the Champions of Education Perspectives for Classroom Teachers. Perspectives is a particular attitude toward a way of regarding something, a point of view. Sometimes we don't realize how powerful perspectives can be. Instead of seeing similarities that we share, we often focus on differences. But it does not have to be that, doesn't have to be one versus the other. In celebration of this historic Southern University and LSU football matchup, we chose not to focus on competition, but on collaboration, commonalities, and community. The LSU College of Human Sciences and Education and our colleagues in the Southern University School of Education were on the same team. We're suiting up to take the field together to defeat an opponent that's plaguing our state, the nation, and advancing teacher shortages. Teachers are the backbone of our society, fostering curiosity and creativity, building skillful individuals, strengthening informed civilizations, and training our future workforce. A great teacher in every classroom is one of the most important resources we can provide. But teachers need the right support and the tools needed to succeed. Our School of Education, as well as our stakeholders, are tackling the challenge that can deter teachers and impact our teacher pipeline. Tonight, our team of panelists will share a few tips from their playbooks with you, strategies, best practices, training, and retention that can advance the teacher narrative and score a touchdown for our education. As the state's largest classroom over the air on any device in the classroom and in your community, Louisiana Public Broadcasting is another champion of education. And they're also our production partner. I'd like to invite my friend, CeCe Copeland, LPB's President, Chief Executive Officer, to offer a few words. CeCe.
Good evening, and thank you, Dean Mitchell. And I promise you, we did not call each other to dress like this. I promise, but I walked up in the parking lot, he was already here, so I'm like, okay, all right. Well, welcome to all of you, and I know it's been a long day for all of you teachers, and I'm really happy to see all of you out here for this enormous event. After all, teachers, you're the ones in the classroom every day. So when LPB was approached by the teams from Southern and LSU, it was a green light for us automatically. Because when they brought to the table education as part of our core value at LPB, we have the 3 E's in it in our mission statement: educate, entertain, and enlighten. All 3 of those components go up to making a successful teacher. Now, you have to look at the things that teachers go through today. My heart goes out to all of the teachers in here. You ought to give yourselves an applause right now. And after all, as Dean Mitchell alluded to, LPB is Louisiana's largest classroom. We're statewide. During the pandemic, we took part of our airtime to broadcast math, science, English. Those things were brought to the students free of charge. You didn't have to have a subscription service or anything. All you had to do was tune to LPB statewide. That's the service that we provide to you. It's our mission. Knowledge and education are the basis for all things that you would need to succeed in life. And every day when a teacher walks into a classroom, you're the catalyst that will ignite that fire to learning. So I know you're getting ready to sit for a little while, but I have a little exercise for you tonight. So how many of you ever heard of the big L, the power of the L? This. Everybody stand and put this up. Come on, come on. This will be your last time standing before the rest of the night. Put it up. Now this L stands for learning. Also goes along with LPB. So I want you to repeat after me. I am a teacher. I provide the power of education. So let's say it all in one sentence now. I am a teacher. I provide the power of education. Applaud yourselves. And Dean Mitchell, they're all yours.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, CC. Thank you. Thank you. Powerful group, an incredibly powerful group, and an exciting and important conversation that's about to take place. So now I'd like to introduce you to the wonderful group of panelists and our moderator. So our first panelist is Dr. Cade Brumley. He was appointed the Louisiana State Superintendent of Education in June of 2020. Dr. Brumley has invested his entire professional career into improving the lives of Louisiana students, serving as a teacher, coach, assistant principal, district leader, and superintendent. Prior to joining the Louisiana Department of Education, Dr. Brumley served as superintendent of Jefferson Parish Schools, the largest school system in the state, with more than 51,000 students. Dr. Brumley also served as DeSoto Parish Schools superintendent for 6 years. Dr. Brumley holds a Bachelor of Science in Education, a Master of Education in School Administration, and a Doctor of Education in School Leadership. He's also completed several postdoctoral fellowships focused on improving student outcomes in urban environments, as well as served as an adjunct instructor at multiple universities. Dr. Brumley. Next, we have Ms. Kimberly Eckert. She serves as the Dean of Undergraduate Studies at Reach University, while still teaching and serving as Innovative Programs Coordinator in West Baton Rouge Schools. Kimberly is also a reading specialist, having served as an instructional coach, master teacher, reading interventionist, mentor teacher, English, and special education teacher. She holds a BA in social work, an MED in special education, and is pursuing a PhD in learning, innovation, and instruction. As an instructor for 13 years, Kimberly is an ASCD Emerging Leader, a Global Teacher Prize finalist, and a National Fellow for Understood.org. Ms. Eckert was a 2019 NEA Social Justice Activist of the Year, National Finalist, the 2018 Louisiana Teacher of the Year, and the inaugural Louisiana Public Interest Fellow for her work developing a statewide Educators Rising program for targeted recruitment of a diverse and culturally responsive teacher pipeline. Ms. Eckert. Next, we have Dr. Alicia Latham. Dr. Latham is an assistant professor of professional practice in the LSU School of Education. As an educator with 25 years plus K-12 classroom supervisory and university-level teaching experience, her professional career has included leading, instructing, and training teachers and students on all levels. Latham currently serves on the iCare Advisory Council, Zachary Community School Board, and the University Lab School Board of Directors. Dr. Alicia Latham received her bachelor's in speech pathology and audiology from Southern University. She earned an educational specialist degree and a master's degree in educational administration and her PhD in curriculum and instruction from Louisiana State University. Latham is focused on developing effective teachers, and her current research interests include teacher preparation, teacher recruitment and retention, diversity in education, and first-year experiences. Dr. Alicia Latham. Dr. Virginis Peoples. She currently serves as the Director of the School of Education and Professor of Education at Southern University and Vice President of the Peoples Advanced Counseling Group. The Louisiana Natives professional career has provided educational opportunities for students in education preparation programs across the country. Dr. Peoples received her BS and MS from Grambling State University and her PhD from Kansas State University. During her career in education, Dr. Peoples attained a myriad of experiences ranging from working as a professor, chairperson of the Department of Curriculum Instruction, Associate Dean and Dean of the College of Education, and Executive Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. Dr. Peoples has also served as a national consultant of the Council for Accreditation of Education Preparation, CAPE, Secretary of the Louisiana Council for Teacher Education, and as an educational consultant for various higher education boards. These experiences, coupled with her dedication to teacher education, have afforded her opportunity to build outstanding educational programs and enhance the matriculation of thousands of students through school and college. Dr. Peoples. Dr. Candace Robillard is a Baton Rouge native who has taught high school English for the past 26 years. Her learning and research interests include investigating ways that students manage the transition from high school to college and how students learn from popular culture, including young adult text. She is the International Baccalaureate Program Coordinator at University Laboratory School, where she has taught for the last 22 years. Dr. Robillard's work has been published in the English Journal and in the Allen Review. Dr. Robillard received her bachelor's degree, master's of education, and PhD from Louisiana State University. Dr. Candace Robillard. Ms. Renita Sherrard has been assistant principal at Southern University Laboratory School for 6 years. She holds a bachelor's degree in special education in English from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette and a master's degree in educational leadership and technology from Nichols University. Prior to her administrative endeavors, she taught English in West Baton Rouge Parish for more than 20 years. Ms. Sherrod exemplifies qualities of a dedicated and enthusiastic educator who believes in shared leadership that involves students, staff, and other stakeholders. Ms. Sherrod's genuine dedication to education is demonstrated in her leadership as she mentors, models, and supports teachers and students. She is empathetic to every student's need, every teacher's struggle, and to the community's challenges. Our panel. And our moderator. Dr. Kim Hunter-Reid is Louisiana's Commissioner of Higher Education. Working with the Louisiana Board of Regents, she leads the state's efforts to increase educational attainment by developing its talent base to reach the state's goal of doubling the number of credentials awarded by 2030. Reid is a nationally recognized student advocate, having served in President Barack Obama's administration as Deputy Undersecretary at the U.S. Department of Education, as well as the White House Initiative on Historically Black Colleges and Universities. Commissioner Reid was recognized nationally as the 2020 Exceptional Leader by the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association. A Lake Charles native, Reid received a doctorate in public policy and a master's degree in public administration from Southern University, as well as a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from Louisiana State University. We're excited to have all of you with us and happy to welcome Commissioner Kim Hunter-Reid to help guide this conversation. Dr. Reid.
Well, thank you so much, Dean Mitchell, and good evening. Welcome to all of you. We're delighted to have you. Our panel, Champions of Education Perspectives from Classroom Teachers, hopefully will be a great one. You have heard all of the introductions, so much expertise on this panel. And for me, it's just wonderful to have an LSU and Southern collaboration as a graduate of both of those institutions. So to get us started, you know, we all know the power of great teachers. We know that teaching is the profession that makes all others possible. And yet we also know that we've seen a decline in the number of students who are interested in entering colleges of education, less students who are graduating from those programs, and a decline in individuals who are remaining in the classroom as well. So a full pipeline that has been leaky in terms of the amount of talent that we're able to keep. But as you've heard from the introductions, the power of a classroom teacher is critical for the success of our students. We at the Board of Regents are focused on talent development, and we can't create great talent. We can't have a Louisiana that will prosper if we do not have great educators in the classrooms available to support and encourage and nudge each and every one of our students. And so tonight is an important conversation for us. These experts will share their own individual experiences. They have various titles, but one thing we want you to know is they all have been teachers or are continuing to be teachers now. And so they understand the challenge and they also understand the opportunity. So we want to hear from them about their perspectives. And so I'm happy to partner with the LSU College of Human Sciences and Education the Southern University School of Education, and Louisiana Public Broadcasting as we moderate this conversation. I would also say that a little bit of data that I'd like to share. A recent Gallup poll found that individuals who work in K-12 are more burned out than individuals from other fields. A RAND survey confirmed that and said that teachers and school administrators are twice as stressed as average workers, and we know the pandemic has made that even more challenging. Our own Louisiana Teacher Recovery, Retention, and Recruitment Task Force found that 74% of the teachers who performed this exit survey, participated in an exit interview, said they're either leaving the profession to retire, to transfer to another school, or to completely leave the profession due to personal reasons. And further, a national survey found that 32% of teachers, 32%, plan to leave the classroom earlier than they originally expected. And so we know that as we enter the fall and students are heading back to the classroom, we feel the pain points. You can't turn on the news, you can't have a conversation with school administrators without them talking about wringing their hands about not having enough quality educators in the classroom. So this is a challenge that is here and now. As Dr. Brumley will tell us and others at this panel, this is not a Louisiana-specific challenge. This is a national challenge. But the question is, what can we here in Louisiana do about it, and how do we move this work forward? And so I want to make sure that we here tonight talk about both the challenges and the opportunities. How do we lift the profession? How do we make sure that we talk about innovative solutions? How do we think about what is the public's responsibility in moving this work forward? So those are some of the things that we will be talking about as we begin our conversation now. So I will start with my friend and colleague here, Superintendent Cade Brumley. Cade, let me ask you, I know that we talk about the teaching profession being one that makes all others possible, but what do you see as the problem? Why do we not have enough teachers when we know how important this profession is?
Yeah, first of all, let me share that whenever someone asks me what it is that I do for a living, I tell them I'm a teacher.
Yes.
And that usually works until they Google me or ask about my classroom. But that is where I start. I am proud to be a teacher. It is the profession that begins all other professions. Outside of a parent or a guardian or a loving adult, there's nothing more important to the success of a student than a teacher armed with a robust curriculum. And we have to do a better job of ensuring that every child in the state of Louisiana has access to a high-quality teacher. And so the question is, that you're asking is, what is broken? And I think probably the best place to start is asking our teachers. And so that's why we are launching, and we will announce the names tomorrow from the Department of Education. We are launching the state's first Teacher Advisory Council. And so we have a couple of dozen individuals who are teachers throughout the state, and we want to ask them, what are the challenges that you're facing? How can we make the environment better for you? I mean, I suspect I'll hear paperwork, whatever that means. I suspect I'll hear bureaucracy, wanting to have our voices heard, classroom discipline, wanting to have effective leadership in the schools. And some people will even say pay, rightfully so, because we should compensate our teachers as professionals. But I think we need to start there, and we need to listen to what teachers tell us. Because the challenge right now is, when I was in high school, which was not too long ago, people were still advocating the career of teaching. And sadly, there are too few teachers in our high schools today that are encouraging students to go be teachers. And so I think that there are a number of initiatives that we have started in our high schools to help people think about careers in education. There are things that we're doing legislatively and with state board policy to open the gates so that individuals have access to this career. And there are certainly other policy decisions that we're making that I'm sure we'll talk about later in the conversation. But in the opening of this conversation tonight, I think I want my response to be, we need to provide teachers a voice to tell us what are their challenges, and we need to listen to what they say.
Thank you for that. And I know we need to listen and act on what we hear. We do have a former Teacher of the Year here, so I want to listen to a teacher, since he said we should listen to teachers. Tell us what you see as the challenge, and then you, obviously, with the Educator Rising work, are trying to be part of a solution. So speak to both of those for us.
Sure. Thank you. And I feel very fangirl, and I have to get that out or I'll be a little adult. Okay. It's very nice to be here with everybody and to be here with you as well. So I think that, especially because over the past 5-6 years, my entire hobby has been trying to figure this out, because it matters. It mattered to me in 2017 whenever I was an English teacher and we didn't have enough teachers, or there was really high turnover at another school that I'd worked at, or that I heard people talking about them not wanting to be teachers. And so if you listen, like the most recent poll from PDK, it came out in 2022, and we know that a very active population is really sort of discouraging the next generation of teachers, and we have to ask ourselves why. So that poll tells us a lot, because the poll surveyed lots of teachers, and some of it is pay. I think it is lack of respect for the profession. I think a big part of it, though, whenever we talk about burnout, I've really been sort of likening it to what the medical profession refers to as moral injury, and it's this space where you really want to make a difference, and you really want to work with children, and you really want to help them thrive, and you really have all these dreams whenever you become a teacher. And then if you're not really equipped with the tools for advocacy, it's very difficult to feel like your voice is being amplified or if it's being heard. And I think as teachers, we were never really trained to stand up and say, I'm an expert in my field. I'm highly skilled. There is no one in this classroom who knows these students' needs better than I do. And I think that it's sort of that feeling of powerlessness, where feeling like you can't overcome the obstacle, or feeling like you don't know the proper channels to be able to get what you know needs to happen. And I think that is something that makes it pretty difficult. And to the other part of that, there's so much that if we were honest about from the very front, we would be able to attract more people to the profession. And I know that with confidence now. It started off as a hunch in 2017, but with the Educators Rising program, right? Whenever you pull the curtain back and you show people the channels and you say, well, this is a school board. This is what the State Department does. This is what you can do. This is what the org chart is. These are the actual skills you need. And then you tell them, this is where we need you. We don't sell this dream that we need one more elementary teacher in the suburbs teaching English. We need you where we need you. We need you in special education, in STEM, in rural communities, in inner city communities. And we tell them why they are the exact perfect people to take up those jobs. The conversations shift and the tone shifts, and it becomes more as if we're recruiting for the major leagues, which is what we should be doing. We know we've got a need, we know what the talents are, and we've got to figure out a way to bring those two things together consistently.
Fantastic, and absolutely right. And I do think that we see individuals who are a full room of teachers and a panel of teachers who want to make a difference, who understand the power of teaching to touch future lives. So I really appreciate those comments, and I want Dr. Peoples to talk with you, because you have spent such a lifetime of educating future educators. So talk to me both about what you see as the challenge and the opportunity, and how has it changed in the time that you have been working to support the development of future teachers?
Well, Kim, there is a direct correlation between the shortage of teachers and the decline in enrollment in our teacher education programs. We have noticed over the last 10 years a steep decline, and a lot of it has to do with the information they're receiving from schools of whether they want to be a teacher, as you said, and encouraging them to become teachers, and a lot of societal ills, a lot of things that go on that have discouraged our students from wanting to enter teacher education. But there are some things we're doing, because we know that one thing we cannot do without, and that is you cannot do without a teacher. And so we keep full speed ahead, pushing and trying different strategies to encourage our teacher education majors to come into this field. We have embarked upon early pathways. When we first started the shortage, I think everybody's attention turned toward alternative programs, where we were going into schools getting people, or going into communities getting people with degrees already. Now research tells us, and we have experienced, that early pathways are important, because we have to rejuvenate the profession. And we have to start very early in high schools, 10th grade, and even as early as middle school, talking to students about being a teacher, understanding the qualifications and what teachers must do, and really getting into the profession. So we have instituted pre-educator pathways with surrounding schools, and we're out in those schools with those students, talking to them about the importance of teaching and the joy of teaching and what you can get out of the teaching profession. We also have instituted the Educator Rising programs that Kim and I worked with years ago, and so we have those programs going. These early initiatives, getting students interested very early is very, very important because we have to lure them into our profession. We have to, just like learning, I tell teachers learning is a trick. I train them how to teach so we can trick students into learning. We're doing the same thing trying to get teachers back in. I used to think it was a problem with our department. It's something wrong with us. I would be on faculty. What's happening here? Then we realized it's not just a state problem. This is a national problem. We have to do something about it. So we have to start very early talking to students about becoming teachers, instituting those pre-educator pathways, those other early pathways. Grow your own programs. We instituted a Grow Your Own program very early at Southern University in the School of Education. We were focusing on recruiting more minority males. And so we started talking with these students at a very early age, and we walked with them through high school and got them to college. But you know the problem that we had? Once we got them to college, we had scholarship funds. We had funds for them through high school. But when we got them to college, our business department said, you know, I like those students. I'll give you this big money to come over and be a business major. So we can't compete. So it just defeated our projects, but we're still encouraging, and we still have funds from other areas. But, you know, once we bring them in, other programs start to look, and so we are forever being, you know, in a competitive nature. But early recruitment is very, very important to enhance our programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting some applause for that.
Yeah.
And you have a president here, so we're going to see about making sure the business people are not poaching the
Taking
teachers.
our people.
Dr. Shields, welcome. So you mentioned, many of you have mentioned the perception or misperception about the profession and trying to start early. So I want to start on this side with Ms. Sherrard and Dr. Latham to talk a bit about what do people not understand about this? What is the misinformation, and how do we flip the script in terms of making sure that we are communicating effectively around why this profession is something you should be a part of?
Well, I'll go first. I think the largest misconception that we have about teaching is that it's easy. That teachers have an easy job. If I know a content area, I'm an expert in it, I can teach. If I love children, I can teach. That might be so, however, teaching there's an art and a method to teaching. You know, teachers have to know the curriculum, right? They have to be able to teach that with fidelity. They have to know how to differentiate their planning, to teach every learning style, to touch every student, to make sure that there's learning in the classroom, that every child is learning. You have to keep a pulse of that learning. Teachers have to know how to assess, when to assess, what to do with the results of the assessment. And so I think that one thing that we need to do as a community is to make sure that they know what's going on in these classrooms. We need to invite our stakeholders and our parents to make sure that everybody is a part of that child's education and they know what we're doing as educators and that our job entails a lot. In addition to making sure that we know that the command of our classroom is straight, we know what every child is doing, you know, we encourage, we teach, and we inspire. So I think that's important for everybody to know about education.
And to add to what Renita said, I think one thing that the public has wrong is that teachers only work from 6:30 to 2:30 or 7 to 3 or 8 to 4, but any effective teacher knows that teachers work 24/7. You never have a day off. You're in the summertime thinking of what can I do this year. If you're a reflective practitioner, you're always thinking about what can I do better from the lesson that I taught the day before. How can I make this lesson better? So we're always working. And so the way I would flip the script is I would just have, well, first of all, in terms of flipping the script, I would lead by example. I would make sure that students understand, and I do this in my own class, I make sure that students understand that, as she said, this is not an easy profession and that it requires a lot of work. And so we lead by example, and I had a great example growing up. My mom taught 52 years in public schools, so I watched her summer after summer. I watched her day after day planning and preparing for the students that would enter her classroom. And so I also would tell the students to block out the noise, because there's so much noise, and when I say noise, I mean people, the negativity. People saying things about being a teacher and, oh, that's easy to do, and what does a teacher really do, or what have you. So I tell them to block out the noise, and I tell them if teaching is truly your passion, follow your passion. And at the end of the day, I always remind them of what my mom told me many years ago, quote she once heard, that if you love what you do and you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, yes. Dr. Robillard, let's get you involved in this. You've served in the classroom for many years at the LSU Lab School. I'm curious from your perspective of what you've heard, how can teachers build community? How can we flip the script from where we are now?
I just want to say that I absolutely agree that no matter what our perspectives are on this panel, I think we all come to this issue of teacher retention and teacher recruitment in having seen many of the same issues, the same problems. Teaching can be a really isolating profession. It doesn't seem like it because you're with children all day, you're surrounded by throngs of people all day. But when the bell rings and the classroom door closes, it's you and those children. And one of the things that I think many new teachers struggle with, and I know that I struggled with as a new teacher, is just how really terrifying that is, because we have so romanticized the notion of teaching. Like you said, if you just love kids, if you just love the subject matter, if you just love being in the classroom, you'll be great. And no, that's not all of it. It helps. It keeps you around a little bit longer maybe, but as Kim said, that that teaching is a craft. I can show you how an education system works, but I can also teach you how to show a kid how to read better, how to write better. And so I think that for classroom teachers, the one thing that we don't always get to do is create community for ourselves and share with each other. Sometimes teachers get sort of territorial and competitive. We're so proud of our lessons and we're so proud of our pretty bulletin boards that, we want to close that door and shut out the world. But the reverse has to be true. So I think one thing teachers need to do is open up that classroom door, and not just with their own departments and their own grade levels, but open a conversation across schools, across grades, across every level of education. One of the things that some colleagues and I did initially last year was host a professional conference for education majors, for people who aren't education majors yet, as Kim says, and for brand new teachers. It's called Practically Teaching. And we had this idea that if we could just invite people who had never been in the classroom since they were students into the classroom, sort of exactly what you said, peek behind the curtain. Let me show you how I can make this really hard skill accessible to a 9th grade student. Let me show you some ways that you can make yourself comfortable teaching a certain topic. Then maybe it'll be a little bit smoother. It'll be a little bit easier. And it's those small connections. Teachers are the ones that have to change the narrative for ourselves. That's what Dr. Brumley said initially. You want to know what's going on in the classroom, you have to look into the classroom. And so I think one thing that we can do is invite each other in, open those classroom doors to stakeholders, to education students, and really work with our universities and work with our colleagues across town, across the street, across the hall to foster relationships, because any good teacher will tell you that you can't teach anything without making a relationship between you and your students, you and your subject, and you and your colleagues.
good points. I'm curious to lean into this idea of opening the door and building community. Because we talk about in higher education, when students have a sense of belonging, we retain them in college. So let's talk a bit about this idea of a sense of belonging for teachers, and would that make a stronger bond for teachers to remain in the classroom? Curious about, Kim, if you'd start and we can go around about, what do you think about that?
That's a really good question. And I will just let you know that in 4th grade, I was the self-appointed Best Friends Club president.
Yes.
Because as an introvert, someone who's actually really shy, I too want connection. And I whenever people can come together, we are just better. We are better together. And there's so much to what Dr. Robillard said. So a few years ago, and I talk about all these hobbies that I have, but in our district in West Baton Rouge, and I'm pointing back here because principals here from the district here supporting us all. But even in that space, understanding, like I worked at a middle school and I started Faculty Fun Friday, which is alliterative but very fun. And that was amazing. And it's funny, we saw that a lot of our retention kept up once we were actually intentionally spending time outside of school together. But since then, since my own skills and my own abilities to sort of network and create and design have improved within the district, like, new teacher cohorts, because there's certain things that I can no longer relate to with a new teacher, because every day on the job, you become that much stronger and better. And that's by design, and we want it to be that way. We've also started workshops for paraprofessionals, because that's a skill set that's super special and deserves its own level of training. I'm able to lead quite a few fellowships for teachers. Some are just for advocacy, where you actually learn, like, how do I advocate in my classroom, in the building level, outside of school, at the state level. And then other fellowships that are just really to connect people around practice. Because we also have the assumption that every great teacher is yearning to leave the classroom or wants a leadership position. And that's also not true. But if we sort of stop the training and we stop the opportunities at you're a teacher or you're a principal, then we lose so much, because over the arc of an entire human being's career, at best, when we're thriving, we're striving for impact and we're striving for meaning. And there gets to be this amazing sweet spot as a teacher, probably after around 5 years, and we can get people to stay that long, where they have got an amazing skill set, they've got expertise, and what happens if you just give them more opportunities to develop that and to share it and to spread it? You find people wanting to stay in the classroom longer, because you find them understanding that it's got to be them, and they're really proud to do it, and they're also proud to share, so we can open the door and peek in to the impact that they're having, and they're able to share that much further than the walls of their classroom.
That's great. Dr. Peoples, do you want to share about sort of sense of community and belonging, professional development?
I think it's just critically important, just a human trait, to have that sense of belonging. Everybody want to be a part of something. I have residency students here tonight, teacher candidates here tonight, and they're here because they're part of that group. Communication, talking to each other, leaning in and leaning on each other is very important, because teaching is not an isolated event. It has to be something that's shared. Because I talk often, I've been teaching, and I'm not going to say how many years, but a long time. But there are still times when I have to ask my other faculty, do you think this is right? I mean, how did I do that? And so you have to say it's okay to make some mistakes, but you have to have someone to lean on to help you to get through those moments. Because teaching is not easy. It's not just, you are a teacher, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a counselor, you're all of this in one classroom. Mm-hmm. And so you have to handle a lot of things. So you need people to talk to so that you can get through those days. And so, we have our students to join organizations, teacher groups. They have mentors in the field. They have their professors that supervise them. And so that sense of belonging is very important. Everybody wants to feel like they belong to something. And you need that pat on the shoulder to say, it's okay. We're going to get through this. Just another day. So that is very, very important.
That's great.
Commissioner, I'm not missing this question.
All right. Jump in, sir.
Yeah,
Jump in.
Kim, like this is foundational to my beliefs as a leader. This idea around teacher leadership. I'll take it first from a new teacher. So I was having a conversation with a group of new teachers. I think, Kim, you may have set it up. having a conversation with a group of new teachers, and a teacher from some rural community somewhere in Louisiana said, you know, I haven't had the opportunity to speak to another teacher about my craft all year. And so, you know, that hits you. Yeah. That hits you in the gut whenever someone says, I've been here for a semester and I haven't had a chance to talk about my profession with anyone. And so that is the reason that we have recently begun what we're calling the new teacher experience, where we want to provide some level of onboarding statewide to new teachers. But beyond that, I go in schools and I have the opportunity to visit with teachers and leaders. And one of the questions I always ask a school leader, particularly now, is tell me how your school day looks different today than it looked 3 or 4 or 5 years ago pre-pandemic. And, you know, I believe that if the school day looks the same today as it looked 5 years ago, then you're not being responsive to the needs of the kids first and foremost. And so there are a couple things that I hope that are evident in daily schedules. One of those is time for kids to either have opportunities for high dosage tutoring or intervention or extension in some particular way. And the other is collaboration time for teachers to have the opportunity to come around the table with the teacher leader and talk about where they are in their career, where they are in their craft, looking at student data and making inferences about what's going to happen the next week. So I was in a professional development session just like this, teachers around the table, and it was a conversation around math. And the teachers were there talking about, look, next week, these are the places in the lesson, and these are the places in this math problem where the kids are going to get stuck. And so if we know the kids are going to get stuck in these particular places, how can we go ahead and have a solve for that now? And sure enough, the next week, the kids got stuck in those particular areas, and those teachers had already been supported with each other on how to work through that. I think the education system has wasted so much money over the years on high-priced consultants to come in and be a stork and drop something on teachers and then leave. The absolute best professional development is teacher to teacher of teachers in that building who know each other and are going to be there day to day to love on each other, take care of each other, and support each other in the craft. And that is what needs to be happening in every school across the state. And furthermore, we have to attend to the well-being of our teachers. So in the state of Louisiana, every teacher, every staff member has access to online, anonymous, virtual counseling sessions. You know, the pandemic was a tough time for all of us. Right. All of us. Our lives were just different. And we responded to that in different ways. And so we just felt that it was important to give people an outlet to just talk about that. Talk about their experiences, things that they were dealing with. And this idea that we should give teachers this opportunity, I think, has a lasting impact in that now as we think about the fact that we lose so many teachers, maybe this is an element of helping support teachers in a way in which they'd be comfortable having a conversation with a skilled individual in a confidential setting that maybe they're not comfortable having a conversation with their HR director or someone like that. And so I think that we have to think about the well-being of our teachers, but also I think we have to think about not wasting teachers' time and not wasting precious resource on individuals who are just going to come into the school, drop something, and leave, when our absolute best resources are the teachers in that building who can work and care for each other and support each other for those children.
Excellent points. Excellent points. Sherrod, I wonder if you would respond to this idea of dedicated time for teachers to work together, solve problems, anticipate challenges and opportunities. And also the idea, as we think about lifting a profession, what does it say to teachers that we care about you and we are making sure that there are resources to support you?
I know at the lab school, we treat our teachers as the trusted professionals that they are. We do provide that professional development that they need. When any shift in education occurs, we have to give them what they need to be able to support the students in their classrooms. And we think that that's vital. That's very, very important. Where they may be experts in a certain area, we have trainer of trainers, where we allow those teachers an opportunity to train each other Instead of bringing someone in, it's already there, like Dr. Brumley said, it's there already in the schoolhouse. So with that, it builds a professional community that's positive, and we support one another. And with that, that retains teachers in the field. So I think that's very, very important to give them what they need and the tools they need to be successful.
That's great. Would you respond to that as well? What do you see, and how do we lean further into this good idea about having opportunities for professional development for teachers to support each other and to feel supported?
I kind of echo what both have said thus far. Having professional development right there on site is first and foremost, I think, very important, because you have a sense of community and the trust is there. And they can work together. They're there all the time, rather than someone just stopping by and offering professional development for a short period of time. You can have continuous professional development. And I think partnerships also play a huge role in this, school districts and schools of education working together to develop partnerships, because you can go in and out the school, work together to develop teachers, to build teachers, to have programs, and it can take on lots of different looks as to how this professional development comes about. But I think it's very important that, of course, that we keep it right in-house, and but we also reach out and use the resources that are available to us through schools of education.
So Kimberly, you mentioned that people don't want to just be a great teacher or a principal. Some of them want to have sort of a ladder of professional development and professional opportunities moving up. Cade, you mentioned that what we do now should not be the same as what we did 5 years ago. So I'm curious about the structures. Are we improving our structures so that teachers have an opportunity to stay in the classroom and become mentor teachers, master teachers, and move forward? Is there a structure that's being built? Do any of you see that, or have you all adopted that? And will that make a difference if we build a structure in that way? Anyone? Go ahead.
We do have mentor teachers, and they are trained from the school level, that we send our student teachers out, and they must do their student teaching or their residency under a mentor teacher. So that will elevate a teacher's position, so they will be able to enhance their salary somewhat and to move up to another position. So that is something that is being done now.
I think we absolutely have to focus on teacher leadership. Whether it's individuals who are going to mentor new teachers, whether it's individuals who are going to mentor practicing teachers who are more seasoned. Like Kimberly said earlier, Kim said earlier, the notion that every teacher who wants to take on additional responsibilities wants to be the principal is just false. Many teachers want to take on additional responsibilities to lead other teachers, to help other teachers better understand what it is they're doing, and offer the experiences that they've learned and the wisdom that they've gained to help support a peer. And so we have to make sure those opportunities are available in schools, and then we also have to make sure that we are compensating those individuals if they are taking on additional challenges. Oftentimes in schools, some principals, they know the workhorses who are going to always get things done, and they continue to pile the work on those workhorses without thinking about how much load can someone really carry. And so we have to make sure that we have a balance of that load, but also we have to make sure that we're compensating people if they take on additional responsibilities.
I don't know how we're coming on time, but I want to make sure we hit a couple of additional questions. One of the things that I know, Cade, you have been focused on, Dr. Peoples, others at in this panel have been focused on, is not just a great teacher corps, but a diverse, great teacher corps. And how do we make sure that our students see individuals who look like them in front of their classroom? So, Dr. Peoples, I don't know if you want to jump in first to talk about this, welcome others, but where do we go to make sure that we do have diversity in our teacher corps?
Right. Diversity is very critical. When you are looking through a book and you see someone that looks like you, you'll take a double take. And that's the same thing that we need to have happen in the classroom. Research tells us that students really want to see people that look like them. And as we look at our data for the state of Louisiana, we see there's a growing mixed match in the classroom. So we must do more to recruit minority teachers. Now, I think that the best place to go is to our teacher education programs. All of our teacher education programs are nationally accredited, state accredited, and through that accreditation, we are measured on strategies that we use to recruit teachers and diverse teachers. And so I think what we need to do is support our teacher education programs more. We need to look at strategies that we are using inside of our programs to produce the type of teachers that are needed for the state of Louisiana. And we're going to have to do some intentional recruiting. Intentional recruiting is that we're going to have to face the facts that we need a diverse population of teachers entering these classrooms, and we have to go out and make intentional recruitment strategies so that we can get the students that we need. Diversity is very critical, and we really must make sure that our classrooms are filled, and our schools are filled with a diverse workforce. So that's very, very important.
Thank you for that. I'm curious about the lab school, having both the lab schools comment about the lab schools as demonstration locations, innovation, leaning into teaching. And one of the things that I think I hear not only is that teachers want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, but they want to have an ability to innovate and to grow and to continue to develop professionally. And so I'm curious about the role of the lab schools in helping to enhance that with individuals who are coming and partnering with colleges of education.
Sorry.
Well, our laboratory schools are analogous to teaching hospitals. And this is where we send our students so they can observe and participate in teaching activities. And this is where they learn and grow. And so it really, we make sure that they are placed in diverse settings across the surrounding areas, making sure they can get diverse experiences that will prepare them for the real job, you know, when they get there. And so this is our teaching hospital, but they teach us strategies. We watch strategies, how to teach, learn with the learning, different new strategies with the teaching processes. But we also we pay attention to the diversity. And diversity comes in a lot of different ways. Right. We're just not talking about, you know, one thing, but there are so many diverse issues that we have to pay attention to.
Right.
I've taught in a laboratory school for over 20 years, I lose count, and it's a tremendous opportunity to be part of a demonstration school, to be part of a laboratory environment, and it's also a tremendous responsibility. And one thing that I will say that our school has made a commitment to throughout my career there is professional development. We do lean on each other. We are encouraged to pursue our professional interests. We go to professional conferences. Our school always makes available time and money and substitutes for that to happen. And those are just real practical issues that I know so many systems struggle with, but you know, to have a group of teachers that can present at a national conference, to have that confidence, to have that, that support from administration, from colleagues, from our community is wonderful. And then that also keeps us on top of our game. It keeps us interested, motivated, right at the heart of what are the issues in education, what are the things that new teachers are going to have to deal with, how is the field changing? And I think Kim was exactly right. Every day I get further and further away from that new teacher experience, but I still have that responsibility to take what I know and to put myself and to be empathetic to those young people. And it's such a great thing, I think, to have demonstration schools, to have places like Southern Lab, places like LSU Lab, and to have all of the other mentor teachers throughout the community who are willing to open their doors and host teacher candidates, pre-service teachers, because there's no way to know what teaching is until you watch it. And when you watch that magic happen in the classroom, when you watch a master teacher do their thing for 50 minutes or 90 minutes, that's inspiring. To watch it, to watch teaching done well, there's nothing like that. You can't learn that you can't learn that secondhand. You've got to be there.
I would like
add to that because I think the lab school is a perfect way to recruit and retain teachers. I'll share an example from the lab school at Southern Laboratory School where we had students who were students at the lab school who ended up going to Southern University in the College of Education, who graduated, who became teachers at the lab school, who are now administrators. So it's like a full circle, you know, and I think the beautiful thing about the lab school, yeah, that's a wonderful thing. I think the beautiful thing about lab schools, you have the opportunity to see a child grow from pre-K to PhD. And it's a constant cycle. It's a constant cycle. So once you're showing them those innovative practices in the demonstration school, they become a part of that, and then they become administration and then recruit and retain teachers as well.
That's great. That's great. So I know we have had a good conversation. The time has flown. But I do want to ask one final question of all of the panelists, because some of you have said teachers need to make a difference, change the narrative. But I know we all would agree that the public has to see themselves as part of the solution in this work. So I'm curious, from each of your perspectives, you had the microphone as you do now, and you could say to the public, what can you do to make a difference, to address this issue, to lift the profession and help support education? What would you say? You want to go first?
Oh, sure.
Go this way?
I want to be like, hello, public. Because it's mostly teachers in this audience. Okay. So what has to happen, right? I started by telling you about this poll that just got released by PDK. So the same poll tells us that we're now at a new high. 63% of parents are now discouraging their children from being teachers. And yet, 72% of parents really trust their school. That's a national poll. So despite what a very loud minority would have us believe, most families really do trust the school and really do have complete faith in teachers to get their job done and to do it well. But the disconnect there comes in. It's not like start encouraging your kid to be a teacher. It's like, why are you discouraging them to begin with? And those things are real. We love our children, right? We love our children. But we also understand that teaching's hard, that the field's underpaid, that the field's overworked, that the field right now is being vilified in many ways. And they don't want somebody that they love to have a career that will never value their worth according to them, right? Fix that. Fix that. Because somebody's kid is charging in anyway. Somebody's kid is still like, you know what? I've got to serve my community. I've got to serve my country. I've got to be a teacher. So we'll let that person do it, but not our own children. So we've got to be able to take charge of that and understand, fix the problems that make us want to hold on and not let go of the right people that are powerful and amazing and brilliant and creative and problem solvers. We need them in the classroom. And if you don't feel like that's a good enough fit for your kid, then fix the reasons why you don't.
And the public is listening. The public is listening to that argument. That's a good one. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that.
Amen to what Kim said. But it's exactly that. You know, if being a teacher, a public school teacher, is not the kind of career path that you'd want for your own child, that is problematic. And I have heard teachers say, "Ooh, I would never encourage my kid to be a teacher." My younger daughter is all in. She wants to be a teacher, and I am here for it. And she knows it's hard. You know, she's growing up like Dr. Lathan did, with a mom who works all the time and who's, you know, spends her summers worrying about who are these new kids going to be in the fall. So that's exactly it. If the poll is true, if parents and communities really do trust teachers, if we can believe all the really cute platitudes that we see during Teacher Appreciation Week on Facebook, you know, if we're touching the future and making lives happen, if we're doing all the things, then it's got to be good enough for your kid. And if, you know, I would never tell my child, oh, no, don't go to med school, don't go to law. Like, those are viable careers. Teaching has to be that as well, and it doesn't have to be this overly, you know, romanticized. You're going to give your whole life. You give your life to any career. If you love it, you're giving yourself to it. And so why not teachers? Why not work in the best place of all to work, which is a school? I don't know why people don't want to work at schools. Schools are fun.
Excellent. Thank you.
Amen and amen to that also.
Double amen.
Yeah. You know, one thing that we all have in common in this room right now is that we all have had a good teacher. And so we just need to keep that in mind as we go about our day and talking about what teachers are doing and what they're not doing. If we want to continue that, we have to promote the profession. And I also want to add that, you know, teaching is the profession that leads to all other professions. You know, you couldn't even be here doing what you're doing today had not been for a teacher. So we have to financially support them that way. We have to pay them in order to bring value back to the profession.
We'll give you last word, Kate. Dr. Latham, I want you to answer the question, but I believe I heard in the introduction that you're also a school board member.
I am.
So you are obviously trying to communicate the value to the public as you're doing the work. So can you speak to the question, but also from that frame, as someone who's an educator, but also a school board member?
So as an educator and as a school board member, first I feel truly blessed to be able to see the profession from all angles and to have the conversations. And I think as a school board member, when communicating with the public, I always like to say, speak up and speak out. Let's have the conversations. Right. Let's work through this, because I think the misconceptions, people feel they know what teaching is all about. For me, it's always, let's talk, let's communicate. And school districts, pretty much teachers, school districts, they're open to having those conversations. And I'll go even further. I like to use what I call the tab approach. So in turn, if I were to say something else to the public, I would say, T, treat teachers as professionals. A, advocate for the profession. And B, I'm about to jump out on a limb here. I'm going to say, be a teacher. If you feel like you have the skill set, the mindset, the creativity, the passion, and the desire to impact, to lead, and to work with the young people in our schools and to make a difference, be a teacher.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, I think they all said it very eloquently, but I'm going to say Aretha Franklin said it best. Respect. We need to respect our teachers, support our teachers, and encourage our teachers, because it's a lot.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that.
So I have to follow all that after everyone got amens, and I'm like,
a lot of pressure here, Cade.
yeah, exactly. So look, I have had the privilege of doing thousands of learning walks and being able to go into thousands of classrooms, particularly over the last decade plus, in leadership roles. And I always enter those classrooms very candidly with everyone, and I always enter and I open the door, and the question is always the same for me, and this is the God's honest truth. It's, would I want my own child in this classroom with this teacher? And that is the question I ask, and I've always asked. And if the answer is yes, then the answer is yes, and then if the answer is no, it's, well, what do I need to do about this? What supports do I need to provide? But I say that to say, in those opportunities, the artistry of effective teaching to learning is mesmerizing.
Yes.
When you get to watch that and you get to see that, it gives you chills. And that's what I want for every child, and that's what I want for every teacher as their career. Mm-hmm. And so what I would ask, I guess, of the public, because that's your question, is we are breaking down barriers to the profession, and I think we should. And we have partners, I believe, in the room who are helping us do that. And so if you can give to the profession with yourself. Maybe it's that you can give yourself as a mentor in the afternoons to a kid who needs you. Maybe you can offer yourself as a tutor. Maybe you can read to a child. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're a billionaire and you could give philanthropically to after-school programs. But give to the profession. And the other thing is, I'll say it again, outside of a parent, the teacher is the most important thing. But whenever you pair an amazing teacher in school with an adult that cares for a kid, that's where the magic happens. Yeah. And every child doesn't get that opportunity. So if you are a member of the public and you have a child, engage with the school. If you're a member of the public and you don't want to teach and give to the profession, go to the school and say, is there anything that I can do to help? And oftentimes there is. But do not forget that the artistry of effective teaching to learning in a classroom is absolutely mesmerizing.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. Thank you. You get an amen, sir. You get an amen. So I know that we're out of time. I want to thank the panel for such an authentic conversation, a frank conversation, because I do think that we have to listen to teachers, we have to lift the profession, we have to understand the challenges, we have to pay our teachers well, we have to talk about the big league and the sense of belonging. We have to make sure whether we have a child in school or not, that we see ourselves as part of the solution. And so all of that, I think, is what we've heard tonight as we continue this conversation. And I do want you to know that the good news is the conversation will continue thanks to our collaboration with LPB. So if you have questions on anything discussed tonight or other topics that have yet to be addressed, you can email teachers@lsu.edu. You can watch for answers to your questions on the fall edition of Louisiana Spotlight, LPB's public affairs program. Again, the email is teachers@lsu.edu. We need to lift the profession, listen to the profession, but we need to keep the conversation going. And so I really thank all of you for being with us. Please join me in thanking the fantastic panel. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, panelists, again. My name is Dr. Laura Choate, and I am the Interim Director of the School of Education at LSU. And I've so appreciated listening to the panelists this evening and sharing their wisdom and their advice with us. And I hope you're feeling like I am, like just instead of feeling overwhelmed by this problem, which is affecting all of us, I feel energized and I feel encouraged and even inspired that there are solutions and that there are things we can do to solve the teacher shortage crisis, that we can work on recruitment, we can work on retention, and we can make this problem better if we work together. Of course, the schools of education need to take the lead in doing the research that's needed in order to figure out solutions and work some solutions. But really, this is a team effort. We need input from everyone. Everyone in this room, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a government official, a business and industry leader, all of us need to come together to solve this national problem that's affecting, yes, our nation, but for sure our state of Louisiana. And so teaching is such a valuable profession. We need to all come together and do what we can to make a difference. And so as Dr. Hunter Reed just said, the email address is teaching@lsu.edu. And we want your input. We'll be glad to spearhead the opportunity to move forward with these collaborations. And right now, for our final word, I'm going to turn it over again to Dean Roland Mitchell, who will conclude our evening with some final words for us.
So in conclusion, then, first, I want you to remember the words that we heard: mesmerizing, chills, impact. Those moments, that's the narrative that I think doesn't get told about teaching. That magic, that's what gets me excited. That's why for that 4-year-old right there that's about to go to school, I'm passionate about being invested in teaching. So to the panel, thank you so much for an incredible conversation. On behalf of the LSU College of Human Sciences and Education, I just have to recognize a couple of folks in the room that have definitely made this an important event, and we're glad to partner with. So Dr. Shields, president of Southern University. Thank you, sir. Thank you and your entire team. Welcome to Baton Rouge, and we're excited to partner with you, sir. I'd also like to recognize other Southern University administrators that are here. If you're an administrator at Southern University, could you stand, please, to be recognized? That's right. I see a couple of my partners there. So incredibly happy to work with you, friends. We also have several of our, or I hope that we have the Southern Board, LSU Board, or Bessie Board members that are here. Ronnie, it's always good to have you as a partner, my friend. Thank you. Our Louisiana Board of Regents member. Actually, our chair, Mr. Collis Temple. Good to see you, friend. Good to have you here. Our LSU administrative team, LSU administrators that are here. Dr. Keena Arbuthnot, Dr. Kimberly Lewis, Mark Beeger, Aaron, it is so good to see you, friends. Thank you for this partnership. Excuse me? Oh, Dr. William Tate. Dr. Tate is there? Oh, he came in. It's good to see you, friend. Incredibly good to see you. Good to see you, brother. I'd also like to recognize any elected officials that are in the audience today. Our elected officials that are here. Barbara, good to see you, friend. Dr. Randolph, I'd like to recognize you as well. Our former LSU partner, but still with us here. So glad to see you, my friend, from sitting here. Now, as far as our incredible panel, Superintendent Kay Brumley, Kim Eckert, Dr. Latham, Dr. Peoples, Dr. Reberlock, and Mr. Sherrod, no doubt about it, your comments, the words that you provided, the inspiration, this is a conversation that's needed to happen. So thank you for allowing us to actually be a part of it. Thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for the contribution. And to our commissioner, Dr. Kim Hunter-Reed, you are all places, friend, all places, and we are so excited that you've been here to lead this conversation with us. So our Southern and our LSU Laboratory School directors, thank you, partners, for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Taking this charge to be a true demonstration school, you have definitely taken that charge deeply, so thank you for that. Our Independence Park Theater staff, our Breck leadership, any of you that are here, thank you for this incredible work that you've done for us to make us welcome and to start this conversation that needs to happen in this community. So thank you, colleagues. Thank you for incredible work. A round of applause for our Breck team. So LSU, SU, LPB staff and volunteers who worked so hard on this event. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you've done to make this an incredible event. And also, I have to say, I'd like to say thank you to our founding dean for the College of Human Sciences and Education, Dr. Laura Lindsay. So I just have to say a special thank to every one of the teachers that are here, the principals, the superintendents, the others in the field who are the true champions of education. You're the ones that made this possible. So for our teachers, please. Exactly, for our teachers. So you have heard us say this, and I want to emphasize it once again. Please email your comments and questions to teachers@lsu.edu. And also, if possible, could you stay tuned to LPB for more dialogue opportunities for this fall. Let's go change lives and be champions of education. Thank you all.